Good morning, fifth grade.
Good morning.
Good morning. So today we're going to talk about this idea of passage of time in a story. Have you guys ever read a story and thought, did any time pass? How much time passed? And maybe how do we know that any time passed? Sometimes it can get confusing when you look at chapters and you don't really know what's going on and just kind of the timeline of the story. So today we're going to learn a couple of methods that are going to help you guys learn how to identify in a text how much time has passed and if any time passed. So I'm going to name 5 methods for you. Okay, we're going to go through each one. So what I want you to do is I want you to open up your reading journals, your reading notebooks, and we're going to copy down each one on the list and talk about it, okay? The first way to show passage of time in the story is that sometimes the text in the story is written in italics. Can someone tell me what italics is? Eliana?
It's like when the letters are kind of like slanty.
Right? The font is a little bit different. So sometimes in a story, you might see that there's some slanted text, which might indicate that some time has passed. And that's something you're going to want to look out for. Now, another thing you're going to want to look out for is asterisks. Now, some of you might not be familiar with this word, and that's okay, but does anybody know what an asterisk is? No? Over here? It does look like a star, right? An asterisk kind of looks like that. And sometimes we see in the text that it'll be written 3 little stars, just like that, which show there's a break in the text, show that some time might have passed. So that's another way to indicate. A third way is a white space in the text. I'm not sure if you've ever read a story and seen that there's a break in the text and there's a couple of lines that don't have any writing, so sometimes when you see that in a text, you'll know that time has passed in the story and that a new event's about to occur. The fourth way is a new chapter. Usually in a story, when you go from chapter 1 to chapter 2 or chapter 2 to chapter 3, that shows that some time is passing, because otherwise if the whole text was together in one big chapter, you wouldn't actually know how much time was passing, so we divide it into chapters kind of to show different segments of the story and different things that are happening. Now, the fifth way is something that we're going to focus more on tomorrow, but we're going to look at it a little bit today, and that's called temporal words. Temporal words are a little bit more complicated, but it's kind of different phrases that are used in the text. So we might say after a while, or the next morning, or after some time. So you can even write those examples. So after, or the next morning. Now these phrases all indicate time. The next morning shows that it wasn't the night before at 6 o'clock, it was the next morning, so time must have passed, right? Mm-hmm. Does everybody have these 5 ways written down? Feel a little bit more comfortable with them? We're going to now look into different stories to see examples of these 5 different ways so that you can kind of see how they're used in the text, and maybe it'll make a little bit more sense to you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the book Journey by Patricia McLachlan. Okay, so if I have a volunteer, I want to go to page 12 and 13, please. Eliana, would you like to read the italics, please?
Sure. 12.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere else. I am very little, 5 or 6, and in overalls and new yellow rubber boots. I follow Mama across the meadow. It has rained and everything is washed and shiny, the sky clear. As I walk, my feet make squishing sounds, and when I try to catch up with Mama, I fall into the brook. I am not afraid, but when I look up, Mama has walked away. Arms pick me up, someone else's arms. Someone else takes off my boots and pours out the water. My grandfather. I am angry. It is not my grandfather I want. It is Mama. But Mama is far ahead and she doesn't look back. She is somewhere else.
So what do we see based on this strategy that the author uses? What do we see is going on? Is there a passage of time happening here? It's actually something that you might not have seen before, but it's called a flashback. So the girl in the story she's thinking back to some other time, and the author indicates that through the use of italics. So you can see a very prime example of the first of our 5 methods that's being used. Okay, now I'd like you to go back 2 more pages to page 10. And I want you to notice and see if you see one of our 5 strategies, one of the 5 methods the author uses here and what it is. Do I have anyone? Mira? I see the asterisk. You do see the asterisk, right? So what do you think that the asterisk indicates?
Another sense of time.
Right? So if there's an event that's occurring, the asterisks come, you see these 3, and something new is happening, right? So that's another prime example of the second of our 5. Now, I think if you kind of look at this one, if you think about the asterisk, kind of like a movie scene. When you have another scene that comes in a movie, it's a totally different section. So I don't know if you know in the movies you have lights, camera, action, right? So you kind of think of those asterisks kind of like the lights, camera, action in the movie when you're going from scene to scene. Now, I would like you to go to our other book called Birthday Surprises, edited by Joanna Hurwitz. And Birthday Surprises is a bunch of different stories by different authors. So we're going to turn to page 60. And we're going to see another method. Does anybody notice anything about this text? Eliana?
The white space.
White spaces, right? So I want to read the last sentence of the paragraph before in the first sentence. Jessica, would you like to do that for me?
Where?
Right before the white space, the last sentence of that paragraph.
This is the story I finally got out of it.
Okay, and then we have that white space, right?
Mm-hmm. It had been a warm May morning in 1873, and Grandad and sister had a home trip where there was a new bride ready to set out for a life on the distant Addison plains of Nebraska.
That's okay, we can just stop there. I think that we can see very clearly, right, that there's 2 different time periods going on, right? And how is it broken up?
The white space.
The white space, exactly. So there you go with our third method. Now, I want to go back to the journey book because it just has so many great examples. And I want someone to look at the difference between chapter 2 and 3. I want to talk about that. So page 13. What are 2 different chapters in? 2 different events, right? Can someone explain to me what we can learn from this? Everybody? Yeah?
You learn that something is happening in chapter 2 and something else is happening in chapter
Right, and they're 2 different time periods, right? Not necessarily time periods, but 2 different portions in time in the book in which something's occurring, okay? Now, finally, we're going to kind of get a glimpse into our last strategy, which is temporal words. So that is on page 12. Okay, in the middle paragraph, I'm going to read that one. Is everybody with me? Page 12? Okay. This makes it? There you go. After a while, Grandma got up and left the room. I sat there for a long time, staring at Mama's picture, as if I could will her to turn and talk to the person next to her. So let's look at the first 3 words there. What are those first 3 words? Someone want to tell me? Jessica? After a while, perfect. And what did we say that was an example of? Temporal words, right? So we see that there are these little phrases sometimes used, and you can look at the words and see just based on the text, without even looking at any text features or clues, that you know that time has passed. So that's a prime example. Now it's your turn. I want everyone to please turn to page 6 from Journey, and I want you to read it on your own, and then I want you to talk amongst yourselves because there's 3 of you here, and I want you to kind of explain how you know that there's a passage of time, how much time passes, do we even know if any time passes? So take the next 30 seconds to a minute, try and read through, and see if you can come up with something.
Where are we starting?
We're starting on page 6, the top of the page, and your grandfather took a picture, and go till the end. Everybody can read in the page?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you to talk amongst yourself, see if you can come up with any ideas. Any words maybe in the text that clue you in? Or it could be any of the 5 that we discussed.
So there's chapter. New chapter. Also noon. It's like time.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I'm hearing some great ideas, and I want to talk about them and share with the rest of the class. And let's see what you guys came up with. So does anyone have any clues that they want to share based on what we learned or what you saw that help indicate anything about time?
So there's a new chapter.
There is a new chapter, right? What chapter did we go from? Chapter
1.
2. Exactly. Any other ideas anyone has? Jessica?
It says the first.
The first. Exactly. The first letter that wasn't a letter came in the noon now. Do we see anything else in that sentence that might clue us in? Maybe any words that have to do with time? Mira? Noon. The word noon, right? What does that show? Right, some time has definitely passed. Well, you guys did a great job today. I think we learned a lot of new ways that we could learn the passage of time, and I think now you'll be able to look at a text, right, and see different clues that'll help you realize, oh, maybe a minute passed, maybe an hour, a week. And that'll help you understand the story better. So tomorrow we're going to focus a little bit more on temporal words, and we're going to get more comfortable using those. So I hope that now you're a lot more comfortable, and you can look at the text and easily tackle it. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.